Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of the CantinaMX podcast. Started a little late tonight. Get off work. Some of us are just being lazy, and some of us forgot that we were doing the show. But the point is that we're all here. We're ready to go. Another big week in Liga MX. As you all know, the big story of the week. Shocking news. Pumas is in first place. I know it's took everybody by surprise. But no, I mean the reality is that aside from that gigantic story, there was also a little play introduction that happened in the center of the country down in Leon, with Landon Donovan being introduced as the newest member of La Fiera in Leon. So we'd like to talk a little bit about that. My name is John Jagu. Glad to have you guys with us this evening, as we do every Thursday night on this YouTube channel. You can subscribe to this channel, as well as give us a like on Facebook, and don't forget also to which is a CantinaMX _pod. Have as always a terrific stable of folks that are joining us tonight. We're going to start off in California, to be specific. Joining us is Joel Aceves. Joel, how are you, sir?
¿Qué hubo, Leon? Right now, I'm in the OC though. Right now, John.
Oh, are you in Tustin?
Sí, señor. Well, I've been pretty spot on with my GOAT analysis, and by GOAT I mean Chivas.
Did you take your passport to go to BOC, Joel?
Yeah, I brought it with me just in case. But yeah, I had talked early on about how my GOATs were going to struggle, and yeah, 0-0 against Toluca, which was a good result. But then to lose at home 3-1, yeah, losing at home to Cruz Azul was bad, just pretty bad. So up next they have Necaxa, who, lucky for them, Necaxa has been a bit worse, because Necaxa tied their first tied Veracruz in match day 1 at home, and then they lost to Cholos 1-0. So they haven't been able to score in league. They did score in Copa MX 5-0. They put the hurt on Zacatepec. So that's going to be a pretty good game. Necaxa hosting Chivas. It's both teams hurting for points and to improve. So I mean, for Chivas, it's tough if they lose, because then they have to receive Monterrey. So if
now let me ask you this, Joel.
¿Qué pasó?
So you said that are you happy? Are you happy that your predictions have come true, or does it come with a heavy heart?
Yes. Well, happy that I'm able to do this and be pretty fairly accurate, I'll say. But it sucks to see the team struggle, and because I expected better for them this season, but after the preseason and some of the other hijinks, it's not looking so good. I would, if I'm Almeida, I'll put all my marbles for the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Well, we'll talk about that and Chivas' struggles, as we always do on the CantinaMX. Out of touch, a good solid 10 minutes on Chivas, but we'll get into that. But before we do, we also want to mention that Seattle joins us from Escondido, California. Daniel, sir.
Good evening, John. Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here as always. Sorry to see my team relinquish their stronghold on first place.
That's right.
Shocking.
They gave us and your man from the Cape Verde Islands is really starting to come on strong. He's having a very good start to the season.
Yes, he is. He's he's having a great start. I kind of felt they were going to lose just because they made so much of the of the fact that Santos hadn't lost in such a long time to Tigres. I guess that was the one team that Tigres had yet to scalp. But so yeah, I guess that all streaks come to an end, and good on them. They won.
They did. They got a goal, kind of a lucky goal from our good friend Mr. Gignac, who is now the second most famous Frenchman apparently, who's now playing in Liga MX with America signing of a Frenchman of their own. And but I think Santos is they'll be doing just fine for this season. I looked at their coefficient in the tabla de descenso, and it's not as bad as it could be. I think that if they get a 20 to 25 point season, they should be in excellent shape moving forward, not just this season but the next. So
yeah, let's hope they take care of business. We'll get another tough match against Morelia. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I guess it's the main event. The main event for Sunday, obviously, because the
right.
America Pumas is the teaser.
Right. Yeah. Who wants to sit through America Pumas when they can catch Morelia Santos?
Yes, the Saints versus the Butterflies.
And seriously, and who also wants to watch NFL football when they can watch a quality Mexican soccer like and people we're kind of being facetious, but Morelia is actually a really decent team.
Well, no, I meant that it was going to be a tough match, but yeah, it's not really it's not a sexy match, I guess, for the neutral.
Now, since we're talking about the teams of our love, it is with great pleasure that I was able to watch the Pumas game. I was actually on an airplane traveling back from the frigid Northeast back to our Texas, and I was able to watch all but about 20 minutes of the Pumas Atlas game. I saw everything I needed to see, and once again, Nico Castillo, in my opinion, is the foreign player that means the absolute most to his team. I don't think that there's any foreign player that means more to their team than Nico Castillo, because the minute he gets hurt and doesn't play for Pumas, they go in the tank. And since he's been playing, he's scored 4. He's the leading scorer in the league right now. He has 4 goals in 2 games. They've scored 6 goals total. They have 6 points. They didn't get the 6 points in the last tournament until week 13. So this is just a huge lift for Pumas, and I think that David Patiño is definitely on the right track, and I'm really, really excited and looking forward to seeing how this season plays out, as long as everybody stays healthy. Because as soon as we start, if we go down that path with the injuries, who knows what's going to happen. But Pumas,
you guys are meeting America next?
Yes, America will be in Seoul. It's this Sunday. It's the
and the former teammates, right? Patiño and Piojo.
Yeah, they were former national team. They were both. They both were spurned from playing on the 1994 World Cup.
Did Patiño at least make it to the Panini book?
I don't think so, because he got injured, so he didn't get a chance to make the Panini book, because and he was and I've told you guys before, for those of you that didn't follow the team back then, he was the driving force of he and Garcia Aspe, both of them just ran that team. I mean, he was the conductor. He made everything happen. He had a great Copa America, the first Copa America that Mexico played. He had a terrific tournament there. There would be that he was going to be included on the final 23, but an injury, unfortunately for him, saddled his hopes. And for Piojo, it turned out that it was his hot head and Mejia Barón thinking, I can't imagine a guy trying to headbutt Karl-Heinz Forster and getting a ridiculous red card in the World Cup, so I can't take it. Yeah, former teammates. Facing off, Piojo has never lost the Pumas. I really do think the Pumas has a good chance as any to win this game. And America does not like to play in Seoul, so hopefully it'll work out for Pumas.
So match of the week then, John? Are we looking at?
Well, it's always whoever Pumas plays is always going to be the match. It's just the way it goes. No, you're right. It is the match of the week. It's a lot of America fans. I wish we had Ron on here, but I do know that a lot of America fans do believe that the rivalry with Pumas is as intense, even more intense than the one that they have with Guadalajara. I think just because of the fact that the stadiums are 5 minutes apart in the southern
crosstown rivalry, and they
not even it's like cross
games
street
recently.
rivalry. Right. Yeah, it's across the street, right? I mean, seriously, they are. I mean, they're not far off. Villacuapa and Pedregal are very close to each other. It's just not that big of a distance to drive between stadiums. So it's and Pumas. I mean, if Pumas can get the 1 point or the 3 points again, every point right now for Pumas is worth its weight in platinum at this point. So if they were able to eke out some wins against the bigger teams, even better.
Well, Veracruz hasn't been doing too good, John. They're at the bottom.
I'm not worried about this year, Joel. It's next year.
Okay, next year.
Next year's.
They're
we're already.
Well, then Lobos Buap, I mean, I don't know how they've done so far, but
I'll tell you, Lobos Buap, in my personal opinion, are going to give Veracruz a run for their money.
Yeah, the only fortunately for them, they don't have money. That's what it comes down
to. The thing is that they made 23 points in the last tournament, which is great. But they have to. They have to make at least 14 points just to stay at 1 point in the coefficient, because they have to have 34, right? I don't know if they're going to make 14 points. If they don't make 14 points, then they're going to miss it. They regardless of what happens to Veracruz, they will do.
Okay, on this
14 points for them is a match for them.
On this Pumas America match, this is a big one because America has been the poppy for the past few games, man. They've had the number for the Gatitos, so hopefully
they have. They've won the last 2 or 3. I know the Azteca, I think it was 2015, I think it was. So I mean, it wasn't like terrible. It can happen, and it will happen. It will happen, Chiquis.
Yeah, I have confidence that this will be the one. This will be a...
No, I'm glad that we have our full complement of folks that joined us tonight. And I'm not in front of my computer right now, so I'm not sure what's going on in the chat. Please feel free to but I would like to open up this question to the table now. A big signing in the CantinaMX this week. Landon Donovan was coerced out of retirement by the Martinez family to come and play in León. He's not the first American that's played in León. Ball had a turn in León. Eric Winalda, current USSF presidential hopeful, Eric Winalda, played in León. And now Landon Donovan, who, in my humble opinion, and I'm not the great soccer expert, but I don't think I would hesitate to say that Landon Donovan is the greatest U.S. player in history. He's now going to be at the age of 36, probably in about a month's time, going to be making his debut down at León. And I personally think it's a good signing. Not a great signing. I think it's a good signing. I would have loved to have seen this happen 10 years ago. Donovan was more and more at the peak of his powers. I think it was a lot closer than a lot of us realize. Him signing with America, I think that would have been a slam dunk higher acquisition on both parts. And I think that he's going to help León. I mean, I think that he's kind of like Cuauhtemoc in the sense that he's kind of ageless, and I think that he could. And the pace of play is a little slower in Liga MX than it is in MLS, and I think that he'll fit in just fine. I think he'll be a terrific center.
And there's some talented players around him like Montes and Boselli. If you could connect with those guys, they could, pretty dangerous group right there.
I mean, and you couple this was having a terrific season and continuing to have it, to the point where he might be playing himself onto the World Cup squad. A lot of resistance that has met this news. Antonio Carvajal, the record-setting goalkeeper from Mexico that played in 5 World Cups, played for León back in the day, said it was a
You broke up a little bit, John. What did he call him?
So he said it was sin vergüenza.
Oh, sin vergüenza.
That
Okay.
it was sin vergüenza. He couldn't. It's that's a big deal. But I personally think it's a good signing. Not a great signing, but a good signing. And if you can squeeze, 5 or 6 good games out of Landon, and make it to the Liga semis or maybe the final, I think it's great. I
think it's got potential for being a great signing, because if you can get some decent play out of him, then it turns into a great signing, because I think it's bringing in. I think it's going to bring in some. From a business perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense for them. It's already gaining them a ridiculous amount of attention, probably more than they're used to. So yeah, it forces eyes on the team. I think he's got a chance to shine because he's got a lot of good players around him. So and like you mentioned earlier, that the pace of the league isn't as fast as others. So which may be a little bit more kind to older legs. So yeah, I think I'm looking forward to it. I'm curious. Obviously, I'm very curious to see how it pans out. I guess now that he's retired from, it's a little. I think it probably would have been even a much bigger deal still. Like you said, had he done this when he was still in his prime. But I guess now seeing where the U.S. team is, and seeing what he's meant to the national team, I kind of tip my hat to the guy. He was a proper villain for my team, and
he absolutely. There's a reason why Antonio Bermudez called him El Verdugo, because he was a Mexico killer. I mean, he at the very tender age of 19, Mexico fans probably ever. With his goal in Korea to beat Mexico 2-0 in Jeonju in the round of 16. And he always seemed to play great game. I mean, he was a great national team player for the U.S. obviously. He single-handedly qualified them for the 2010 World Cup. He scored 4 goals in that tournament. He was an outstanding player in his time.
Hey, I got a question for you guys.
I think that he could have been, although some people seem to think that he still is. Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, I was just wondering, with all the the antics that he pulled, and maybe disrespect you could say that he showed towards Mexico and the players, and the pissing on the Jalisco and all that stuff. Does that impact your image of him?
Well, I want to say about when he took a leak, and I know we made fun of that, but that was during a practice, and it was supposed to be a closed session, and some reporters had snuck in, and they filmed them, but and I know, because in the forums we were just using that to piss off the Yank, the U.S. fans.
And I remember that happening
something
And I
players.
remember Televisa showing the footage. And then you remember how there's a colección privada that they used to do on their Televisa Deportes segment? So they would show that all these Mexican dudes doing the same thing. So was it really that big a deal?
No. But I mean, it served its purpose at the time for the rivalry, like
Sure.
to hype up the match. Like, look how disrespectful he is, you know.
Now,
But gentlemen, there's something that we haven't been mentioning, and that's that Leon might move out from. They might go to. They might even go to Irapuato because they're having problems with. They don't own the stadium. The stadium is owned by the. Help me here, Jan. Municipio. Yeah, el municipio.
Yeah, the municipality, city.
Yeah, so I mean, they're thinking about going to Aguascalientes or Irapuato, and I think one of the reasons they brought him in was just to bring in more media attention to the team, and it's even something I have heard.
Leon's stadium is atrocious. I don't think anybody denies that.
Hey, we got a phone caller in whenever you guys get a break.
We have a phone call. Somebody has
I think Ivan is
graced us.
I think it's Caballero Aguila too. He wanted to defend Águilas in the upcoming rivalry match.
Oh.
You there, man?
We have to...
Is that you, Ivan?
Yes, I'm here, gentlemen. How are we?
What's up? Doing good. What's your question or rant or whatever?
Can you guys make out the question, man? I can't hear him at all.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble hearing him.
Sorry, Ivan, we're having technical difficulties. Maybe you can post the question on the chat, or
try it again.
Gentlemen, can you hear me?
Much better.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like I was mentioning, a very close rivalry, and I think that has to play a lot with it. I think you guys mentioned that I hope for this one to be so much matched. It's looking like it could be that way. I would still hope that I think that the top five that for quite a while now. How both teams cope. I think too much on the back when they try to go on and America's gonna have a big loss. So like,
so are you saying that America is going to lose?
Absolutely.
Are you predicting an America loss?
I'm sorry, what?
Are you predicting an America loss? That's what it sounds like to me.
I'm not predicting an America loss.
I think you are. I think you are.
A tough matchup. Happy if we walked away out of the show with a draw.
A draw would probably be the most likely result. Now, let me ask you this, Mr. Aguila, since you're on the line. There was a very good chance 10 years ago that Landon Donovan was going to sign with America. And in fact, it got to contract negotiation time. I mean, it was closer than any of us thought. How would you have felt 10 years ago when Landon was at the peak of his powers to have a guy like that play for Club America?
To be honest, I do. I remember that clearly when the rumors were spiking around that Landon was on his way to Guapa. To be honest, I was actually hoping that is actually true. He was at that time, if not the best American player at the moment. It would have been absolutely amazing to have something like that because at that point, America really needed of his talent, someone that could be creative, someone that could kind of carry the team on his shoulders. And he was Mr. America, and growing up here in the States, kind of just and that first hand, it was an exciting bit of look at. I honestly, but for my well, it was very interesting. And I actually would have hoped that he would have came to America, but for one reason or another, things didn't happen. But I think he would have contributed a lot to the league and at that time.
Hey, thanks for the call, man. We really appreciate it. Appreciate your comments, and please continue listening to the show. We appreciate you calling in. Thanks a lot.
I thank you. Proud to be part of the CantinaMX family. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Now he has our friend has a very good point that at that time, remember Cuauhtemoc had left to go to Chicago Fire, almost left with the championship, but Pachuca ended up taking it from him. And in the dark times of America with Michel Bauer, who had actually put on his website page on the club's official page that his qualification for being the president is that he had passed the Johan Cruyff Institute class. That's who was leading America at that time. So had he Landon Donovan, it probably would have been a good.
And John, they used that joke at Club de Cuervos.
Yes, they did. They did use that joke. I'm sure he's not the only one. But so Leon, as you said, Joel, they're having stadium issues. I know that they're looking at possibly building a new stadium. I mean, Leon Stadium hasn't really changed all that much since they played the 1970 World Cup. There, Leon Stadium was a stadium that saw England go up 2-0 on the Germans, only to have the Germans beat them 3-2 in the 1970. Probably the most famous game ever played in Leon was, easily the most famous game ever played in Leon was that game. So that Leon, I don't necessarily think that they'll move Joel, but I think that they're going to definitely leverage moving to get a new stadium, which frankly, and I think we're going to start seeing this not just at Leon, but I think there's going to be other teams that are going to start making noises about getting it, because Cruz Azul is going to be getting a new stadium. I fully expect Tigres to be getting a new stadium.
Yeah, see, they had a 10-year contract with the I don't even know how to say it. Municipio, yeah. What is it in English?
It's a municipality, the city of. It's like the city of Leon, like the city of Los Angeles.
Yes.
The city of Leon.
Yes, and the city's fighting it. So I guess I don't know if they want more money, but if they don't come to an agreement, Leon is just gonna pack their bags and leave.
Before Mexico in the Hex, I thought that the worst thing they could do was to play games at the Azteca because of how bad it went in the 2013 Hex. It's like, man, go play places like Leon. Go play in Monterrey. Places where the fans will actually cheer for you. And this one guy just kept telling me, dude, you don't want any part of Leon. It is a terrible stadium. It's the worst. Just went on and on and on. I'm just thinking, dude, I could care less about the actual stadium.
But this guy could boost up attendance and just like ratings, and that's, the city would be the one missing out if they lose the first division team.
They had
Yeah,
They
American.
will likely not get another one for
They had American
a
flags
long
waiting in
time.
the stadium, man.
Yeah,
I think he's going to bring a lot of guys, a lot of people over.
well,
That's
what he's going to do is he's going to bring a lot of eyeballs to Liga MX that, frankly, if they have any kind of interest in it, is always going to be more of a an occasional curiosity. Now Liga MX games are going to, and Leon plays. They have one of the better schedules. They play Saturday nights, either at 7 or 8. I forget what it is, and I guarantee you. Now, is Leon? Are they the only ones that are being shown by Telemundo, or do now all the teams now on Univision Deportes Network, or Univision rather, but they're on the family networks?
Who knows?
Well, I think that whatever the case may be, I'm pretty positive that that's going to be getting, especially when he starts playing, is going to be getting the either the on Univision proper or on Univision Deportes, whichever one is going to get him more eyeballs. It is definitely going to help in that.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about like the U.S. Marketing and the coverage, because there's been complaints about how Leon is handled. They don't have like an English section to their website, or they don't have an English Twitter and all this stuff, and all the complaints of how Leon is handling it and marketing it. Basically, that they're failing at it. I'm talking about in Mexico. What are they? They're probably doing some type of stuff in Mexico. Have all these dudes waving American flags, just to come to see the Dos Acero dude. And I think because he denied that the 20 was Dos Acero related, but I think he should like play that up a little bit. I mean, still be respectful, like his speeches on being respectful to Mexico and being like foolish back in the day when he was dissing Mexico. I think that's good, but get the Mexican interests that are in Mexico, not necessarily the Americans that are here that just want to see Landon play, and then they tune into Spanish stations that they don't even understand just to watch it. I think in Mexico there's a lot of interest in Leon that might show up to the stadium. An increase in attendance will probably happen.
Well, the attendance is actually, at least over the past couple of years, has actually been going up in Liga MX. So that's, I mean, even in the Pumas game, Chiquis, I don't know if you got to watch it. I'm sure you did. As part of it, I mean, that stadium looked. I mean, I know there are sections they just are not gonna fill, but for the parts that were open, I mean, there wasn't an empty seat in the house. I mean, it was as full as that stadium was going to get for an Atlas game. Obviously, for the game coming up this weekend, they've opened up. They'll open up all the sections of the stadium, and they'll have their 65 to 70,000 people in the stadium. So, but you're right though, Chiqui. I mean, it's and I think that goes along with another topic that Joel wanted to touch on is the globalization of Liga MX.
yeah.
And, Joel?
Yeah, sir. I was reading about different comments about how the league is messing up by not having English and just not having the webpage or Twitter accounts. But the thing is that it's not like they don't care. They've done studies. They've done studies about how to globalize the league, so they already know what to expect. They know what their returns will be. So if they're not doing it, it's for a reason. And I say probably like the best example I could give is if you go to the Univision streams on Facebook when they do the English language commentary, you go on the live chat and it's all Spanish. Everyone watching that's participating is talking in Spanish.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, so I mean they know that they're not bound to get that many more viewers if they were to provide content. They already they pay I forgot what company they paid to do these studies on. And the guy that was talking about this was Luis Miguel Salvador. He was the GM of Monterrey.
Luis
He was actually, yeah, he got fired soon after. So I don't know if it was because of that. He was spilling the beans in a.
Luis Me, in my opinion, is the worst national team player ever. A close second is Memo Cantu, but that's a different topic.
What about Rodrigo Lara, man?
Well, he had one mess up. There's a big one. There's no question. But I mean, at least he. I don't know. I mean, at least he his. I don't know. Just.
But going back to Luis Me. So he was saying it in an interview. He was basically talking about the 10-9 rule and the major reason why they did it, and it was because of that. He said that the studies that had paid for said that they needed more players more international players, and that's something that the Monterrey teams are still pushing for. They want no restrictions now.
Well, I mean, they practically have no restrictions. I mean, they can field a team with 11 foreigners easily.
Yeah, but they say you need like eight nationals on the roster. They want like.
Yeah, but that's just on the roster.
Yeah. Well, they're still pushing to change that, and so he was very telling that interview. You guys should probably be able to find it.
Well, I think a lot of that though is kind of self-inflicted too, though, because for years, I mean, I've always thought that Liga MX, the only another thing, they'll play their games or they'll have their games on TV in Central America. Occasionally, they'll have them on in South America, not with any certainty, and then of course they have them on here in the U.S. And it does very well here in the U.S. And that's it. So they've never really wandered beyond their own neighborhood.
Yeah.
Not that they've ever, but they've never really had a reason to. I mean, how many times do you hear, or you read an article written by an Englishman, saying, oh, and this guy played for Chivas in the South American League in Mexico.
Yeah. No, and John, we talked about this before. In order to be more global, the league is going to have to restructure the way they have their television contracts. And even now, it's not what we like to think. Chivas recently tried to get more money because that's what they had valued themselves to somewhat, and they weren't able to do it.
You're talking like a communist, Jolie. What is this collective bargaining, one for all for one? It sounds like commie talk, man.
No pueden hablar. And but Chivas ended up not getting the type of contract they thought they were going to get. And then you have like Lobos WAP, for example. They spent about 2 months without any television deal.
That's what we. I know that we've talked about Hoa in the past. That in order for promotion to be that big deal where they get that big contract, is that they do have to aggregate. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the NFL has been so successful and so popular for as long as it has, and why so many. If the NFL was set up in a structure like a soccer league or even a regular sports league in the U.S., then it would be the same 4 teams playing every year for a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, there's a team like New England that's been there forever. But I mean, the same 4 teams that are playing this time are not the same 4 teams that were in it last year or the year before that or the year before that. A certain amount of parity that comes to having a television contract like that, where every team gets its own fair share. Now, I know that in Spain, they had a TV contract that was league-wide, and then Barcelona split 60% of it, and then the other 16 teams got 40%.
Yeah, but I think that the league-wide, that's going to be needed, and also to get back into Libertadores.
Hey,
Well,
but
yeah, I
why
think
should
Libertadores
a
is.
team with a smaller fan base? I mean, just to argue the other side, I don't know if you guys argued it. Smaller fan base get the same amount of money as far as TV contracts are concerned.
Why should they?
Yeah.
So that they can. Well, I mean, let me put it this way: the team that has the biggest fan base can't sign any players right now because they have no money.
Are you talking about Chivas?
Yeah.
Well, imagine if I mean, in the short term, if you do this type of collective contract, it's gonna hurt Chivas even more because they're gonna get probably less money. You know, the first the first few years, maybe the first 5 years of this contract.
I don't necessarily agree with you there. It depends on how the contract is structured. See, I personally, if I were negotiating a television contract for Liga MX, I would tell the teams, hey, I know that you guys have been playing at your horario for whatever it is. You know, of course, a lot of them, I mean, outside of Tigres, Monterrey, and Pumas, everyone else has changed, and Cruz Azul, everyone else changes their horario all the time. So, but I personally would structure it to where I'd have 2 games on Friday. I would have, so there's 9 games total, right? I would have either 4 or 5 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday, and I'd have a Monday night game. I think a Monday night game would be massive in Liga MX. Massive. It would be huge. And then I would rotate the teams that go in there. So, yeah, I think that the way that they structure a television deal, instead of each team, begging for scraps for their 8 games a year at home, no.
I mean, what would be the goal of this setup? Is it just to increase the TV contract money? I mean, just from a business owner standpoint.
Yeah, but not just TV, not just TV, but you also have, you have the streaming service that you need to work out. So you have to have both. You have to have the international portion of it.
So Chivas, the research.
We could sell on the rights internationally.
I mean, look, I see it. I think in the long term, the Mexican Premier League, as far as as like the English Premier League, as far as money for the teams. But in the short term, a team like Chivas that is struggling to sign players as it is, and we really don't know about their finances. And I mean, it seems like every time I talk to Jolie, he just paints a very grim picture of how their finances are doing, and this is why they're having the fallout with players and
mismanagement.
But it's not just Chivas.
As a fan of that team, regardless, obviously the ownership is,
And you admit to that?
You admit to
that? You admit to that, being a fan of Chivas?
I mean, what do you mean? Well, I guess we're journalists, we're professionals, and we're impartial, right?
No, I'm just kidding.
I mean,
of course I know you admit to it.
No, but just real quick with what's going on with Chivas.
Let me finish. I think Chivas, like as it is, they're struggling, and and that's that they recently re-signed with Televisa. So I don't know if
they didn't resign. They begged Televisa to take them back.
So yeah, John, exactly. So look at it. They went 6 months with their Chivas TV. Not to turn this into a Chivas podcast, but they went 6 months into a Chivas into their Chivas TV. They then they come out of it, and now they're struggling financially. So I mean, imagine if they got to take like a smaller percentage of their current TV contract just so they can share it with.
It's not just the TV contract. I mean, there's shirt sponsorships. I mean, there's so much more that goes into it.
Yeah, stadium. Stadium
Chivas didn't have a shirt sponsor for a year and a half.
Right, but I mean, they're doing that currently, right? They got the shirt sponsors. The stadium. They named it the Akron, the rap artist.
El Akron.
Right? Akron.
It sounds like a Decepticon. I thought it was a Decepticon. Hey, Juan, but the whole thing with Chivas, it's just bad management, man. Because when they had like a proper front office, they were bringing in all the top players. They had Carmona, they had Bofo, they brought Conto Pineda. They were just bringing in a lot of good players and in their prime.
When was this
The team
under the
weren't able to.
promotora?
No, well, even the promotora, but just after. I mean, I would just say after
No, but
because I think promotora overpaid, and promotora was this whole thing I could get into. It was like money laundering.
well, Jolie. So basically, I mean, we're admitting or we're speculating that it's bad management. So imagine if you make their margin of error of that much smaller because you're taking away. Let's say, I mean, what are they getting per year
No,
now?
wait,
What,
wait.
20 million per year?
No, but I mean,
You bring it down to 15. Like their margin of error, like the management is bad, and so you take away what 30% of their budget per year, for the next 5 years until the collective TV contract demands a higher premium. Unless, I mean, do you guys think right away the collective TV contract is going to demand a higher premium?
they could make more money if there's more
I think
rights.
in the long term, it will. I think Chivas in particular, it's gonna hurt them in the short term. And I mean, you might have. I mean, we've already had cases where they're getting close to Segunda, and that's with under the current rules. Or
The biggest problem Chivas has right now is that there are too many egos involved with how the team is set up.
Dude,
And
hold on. Hey,
frankly, it's
Jolie,
pathetic.
dude?
It's
Hey,
pathetic.
let's leave Jolie out of this, dude. Why are you saying that? Why are you attacking us, man?
I'm not talking you, but either of you. I just think that, I mean, just the whole Alanis thing to me is just a perfect microcosm of the idiotic pendejadas that drive business decisions at a place like Chivas, where the one guy's like, oh, he's not going to tell me what to do. I'm going to let me show him this is what's going to happen with this guy. And then the player's not going to sign. We're going to, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo this week says, you know what, I may want out of Real Madrid. That was the rumor. And then our good friend Martin de Paredes says, if that was a Mexican player, they'd freeze him for 6 months because he dared make a comment like that. I mean, then that's just the reality. I mean, I know that people talk about the Pacto de Caballeros and all that, but to me, the biggest problem with the Pacto de Caballeros is the ridiculous pettiness and vindictiveness that owners have when players have the nerve to say, to actually make it not a decision, but make a request of what they want to do with their future. And the owner's like, you don't tell me what you're going to do with your future. I tell you what you're going to. That's the part that I can't deal with. And in Chivas right now, it's just quintessential. I mean, they finally have it going good. They have good players. They have a good coach, but someone has to take credit for it, right? And it's never that no one will ever take. Everyone has to take responsibility for why they won, and it's never the person that did it. And right now they're having a huge stupid fight over just the most petty, inane bullshit things. And because of that, Chivas, where they're going to go back to where they've been for the past 30 years, where they'll come up and win one title, and then it'll be another 10 years before they win another one. And that's just the reality.
Hey, John, I mean, I agree in spirit what you're everything you said. I agree in spirit. But I mean, just in general, with this TV contract, how about if they brought in like a collective TV contract, but then they also added like a salary cap, I mean, just to throw that out there.
But you can't have a salary cap with transfer fees.
Why not?
Unless if you put a cap on the transfer fee.
No, I think a salary cap on the well, I mean, I guess are you thinking like the financial fair play rules?
Well, what I'm saying is, I mean, I know that MLS and like in the leagues here have salary caps, but like in the NFL, a player doesn't go from one team to the other, and then that team pays the other team like $110 million. It just doesn't work like that. So
Well, I'm
so to
thinking
me,
like an
I think it's very hard to have
NBA
a
type,
salary. Yeah,
like
but
an
it's
NBA
the
type,
same thing. Yeah,
right? But
but in soccer, everything is driven by transfer fees. So unless they put a cap on like, unless they say, well, you can't spend more than the transfer fee, the maximum transfer fee in Liga MX for any player is going to be $20 million.
like in the past you had a Televisa floating Club America. Even though we have Ronnie come in and say, oh no, the each club had to manage their own finances and so on. Well, I guess they did at one point. Um, just to kind of avoid okay, we're gonna have a collective a TV contract, but then let's also have like something to where it's like a fair playing ground where you don't have like a the FEMSA or these companies injecting millions, managing teams at a loss basically. Like I think in the case of Tigres, is that team losing money every year? Or are the owners injecting money into it to bring in this star-studded in these top players? Or are they making enough off their TV contract and their T-shirt sales and stadium sales? Where's that?
Hey, we got a caller. Eduardo.
Yo, guys, what's up?
What's up, man?
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, how you guys doing?
What's up, dude?
Not much, guys. Not much. I was gonna talk about the Pacto de Caballeros. Yeah, my comment is that it's ridiculous. If the Mexican League it's inspiring, or trying to become one of the top leagues in the world. You got to follow other models, because no other league in the world has this Caballeros, and then who have such power with like Televisa. It's crazy. And I have a question for you guys. What do you guys think about the what do you call it? The apertura clausura format? Personally, I find it kind of like, I don't know, boring. I don't know. It's weird.
You want the long seasons?
Did you say boring or
Yeah.
weird or both?
I guess you know what? I guess it's awkward only because, how am I gonna put it? It's like every other day. It's like the playoffs, and it's like, okay, champion, yay, woo! But I feel like if the apertura clausura, you have a champion like every half year, doesn't kind of that dilute the championship instead of having like a longer title race? And then also, it gives opportunity for the younger Mexicans and other players to develop with a longer format. There's teams that are going to be like, oh, well, we're going to throw away the season. We're not going to win, so might as well just develop.
If our man Ronnie was on the phone, he'd talk some money and green and business, I guess, to you as an answer, but he's not here.
No,
Well, I would
agree with him though.
I would say the same thing too. Yeah.
No, but I
Go on,
agree with Caller, man. I think long season format is the way to go, man. I think the short season makes for some mediocre teams end up going into the playoffs, and sometimes the better teams not winning at all, and it would show in Libertadores, because the teams that we would send would be, and they would never be able to win. And you look at some of the teams that won Libertadores, teams from Ecuador and Peru, and I'm like, come on, man, that would have been us if we would have been sending our top teams. And that's a big reason, just even the scheduling of our league.
Yep, I think.
I don't know. I mean, but you can't just ignore the business aspect of it, though. I mean, the truth is that you have one person that may think it's boring. The truth is, I think most people find it extremely exciting. And then, if they could pull it off twice a year, then that's twice the amount of money they can revenue from the Liga. So, from a business standpoint, it makes perfect sense. From a footballing standpoint, I mean, as a fan, the pure side of me, would like to have like one long season without a playoff and just have one outright champion. But I can't lie though that I do enjoy these liguillas. The excitement that comes from the games. I can't help get wrapped up in the excitement of it all. So I think there's pros and cons. I don't necessarily think that playing a longer season would result in more Mexicans or more kids getting chances. Even as is short season, it's not that hard. There's 8 teams that qualify, so almost half the
It
teams.
used to be 10.
So that's what I'm saying. So like, I mean, 8 teams getting in. You can experiment throughout the season. I think that's a misconception that they say that you can't really play younger players. Sure, you can. You could. Tigres has shown that you could sleepwalk through half the season, if not more, squeak into the playoffs, and then walk away with a championship.
That's what makes it
or get to a
man.
final. No, I don't think I don't see that makes it mediocre. Ultimately, they're the best team to begin with. They knew it, and they played according to the rules. If you don't have to go all out the entire season, because you may be recovering, you may have other priorities that you want to send your best team to. Pace yourself throughout the season, then I don't see a problem with it. I think it's smart.
I don't mind a short season. I would just prefer that the Liguilla teams be limited to at most 6 teams.
And I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Wouldn't these teams play to what they play the game? They play to what they're presented. So if they're presented with a short season, Tigres is going to sleepwalk if they can through half the season,
correct,
and then win. If it's a long season, then they're going to do what they need to do to win a long season. So I think
exactly
that the results could be the same either way.
But you still, I think the Liguilla adds value to the league. Some form of cup, Liguilla type cup, in addition to the Torero MX tournament.
Isn't that what the MLS does?
But are you testing my MLS knowledge, dude? I went to every.
No, I don't know.
This year
because I heard they have like 2 different like competitions or something, or like a supporter shield or something. I'm not too.
Well, yeah, the supporter shield is the trophy they give to the team that ends with the most points at the end of the regular season, and then they have their playoff. And MLS's playoff is weird because it lasts like 3 months. It's just a bizarre format.
And they have playoffs, right? And then they also got they have like the U.S. Open Cup, which is it's an open tournament to even amateur teams. There's semi-pro teams. Like Jolie's Sunday public team, I think they beat Galaxy one year.
Yeah, is that the Culeros, Jolie? Is that?
No, but I want to go back with the whole short season because it changes the culture, the way we see the football, even our expectations. So, I mean, and the one thing we see is like we don't even see that many coaches, young coaches that they're going to get about a handful of games before they get sacked. And it's not so much just because it's short season, but it's because there's a playoff. And the playoffs means that, it's that bonus TV money. So that's what the teams care about, just to make the playoffs. And even as fans, if your team makes the playoff, it's considered you had a good season.
Well, it is a good season. I mean, because at the end of the day, sure it is. I mean, if the objective is to win a championship, then you have to get to the playoffs. Yeah. How you get there is irrelevant.
I know, but if you look at
it, but Joel, it's the same thing that happens in Europe, dude. And I'm sorry, but okay, so you have a team that's going to win the championship, right? And then the next 4, they win up. The next 3 get the playoff of playing in the Champions League next year, and then the next 4 beyond that, get the opportunity to play in the Europa League.
But does it have those tournaments, which we could have something similar? We were in the Libertadores and we were in CONCACAF, Champions Cup. But that makes winning the the league title that much more prestigious.
I mean, I could agree that
No, I
having
mean,
two a year does water it down a bit. I can't argue that.
well,
But
doesn't that happen
I'm
in
just
Argentina too?
I just not sure I buy the notion that somehow things are going to be so much better for everyone involved, like for Mexican players and for Mexican football and for the quality of the game, if they just went to a long season minus a playoff. I mean, I don't
I
see
don't
how you
think
can really quantify that.
you know. I agree with Dano. I think if all you do is change the format from long to short, from short to long season, I don't think you'll see a big change as far as the champion, the league or the players. But maybe what
I
you'll
mean,
see
not even they have
is
playoffs.
a little bit
You have
more
to
of
get
a long term planning
you have to get rid of the
because you
playoffs.
well,
They're
I mean,
never going to
you
get
could
rid
still
of the
do the
playoffs.
liguilla. You could still do the liguilla. I think you would. But in the past, wasn't it a liguilla like in the summer
No, it's
or
No, they
or
were just called
the
campeón
the
de
liguilla
campeón de
started
invierno.
in the 1970. So none of us have not seen a league without a liguilla. None of
so?
us.
Wait, okay. What's the verano invierno tournaments then? Or am I?
Well, that was
That's when
just
it was
the
long season
That's
format.
just the split seasons.
Yeah, it was when it was long season, but they still had liguilla.
that was
They still have one liguilla, right?
no verano infierno were just the first names they gave the
Clausura.
apertura clausura. Yeah,
Oh, so
because
okay.
they played the verano and the invierno, and they played the invierno and the verano. That's what ended up happening. So they said, "Why don't we just call it apertura clausura?"
Yeah, I think they should have stuck with verano invierno because apertura clausura to me is confusing. I'm like, okay, which one's
No,
which, dude?
What was that, John?
Your Whataburger reception is not working very well.
don't most
You know what though? If they want to go all the way, like if they have the balls, then they should just go straight up. The bottom three descend, and have a long season format, so that you reward the teams that are consistent. That the front offices that are planning their seasons at long term planning.
That's probably the one change that I would probably implement into the league that if I could is getting rid of the porcentaje and just make it a straight like top two, top three, or even if it's just the one worst team of the league drops. That's it, man. If you have a terrible season, that's it. This protection of the popular teams.
yeah.
Well,
I mean, now if I'm not mistaken, Joel, aren't the short seasons? Isn't that common practice in South America?
It is, but they don't have playoffs. That's what without the playoffs, every game is that much more important because there's no way you finish in eighth and then you still have a second chance to win the
it's that important
campeonato,
for who?
right? For the teams wanting to be campeones. It's
So like,
winning
a
at
few
home,
teams.
all that. That's why it's no. If you look who's won the tournament, it's varied for them. But that's why their
I'm not
matches.
saying it's one team, but
Look at their matches.
realistically, in any
That's
given
what
season, though, how many teams realistically have a chance of winning the actual championship? If that's the case,
a few, man. You'll see. But their games are that much more intense. Even a clásico means that much more. Losing a clásico could be the difference between winning the league or not. As opposed to with Liga MX, it's just the clásico. There's no added weight to it. So yeah, the
that's not
games.
necessarily true. I mean, there could be playoff implications. I mean, a team could be on the verge of qualifying or not qualifying, and
Well,
there's
like,
the
look
possibility
at
that they
the
meet in the playoffs.
look at the recent one though. I mean, those right now, Pumas America, whoever loses, they could still recover and still make the playoffs.
I don't know. I just think you paint this ultra rosy picture, but like I see the European model, and as successful as it is, those top leagues are pretty anticlimactic when it comes to choosing a champion. I mean, it's a what it's in some cases it's a two horse race, I should say, and in other cases it's a 4 team if you're lucky. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe because I'm used to this, but I love the unpredictability of our league that we watch. The fact that any one of our teams has a legit chance of being champion at the end of it, I think it's cool. Does it reward the absolute best team? Maybe, perhaps not, but I don't think it demonstrates mediocrity. If that was the case, you wouldn't see teams routinely get to finals or make it far into Libertadores if that was the case. I mean, it may be a factor, but it's not. I don't think a determining factor as to why Mexican teams haven't been able to become champions. But mediocre, I don't. It's competitive. Every team is really good. To me, I kind of it kind of reminds me of the NFL, like where every single player on the team is extremely talented and extremely good. That anybody can beat anybody. Now, I'm not saying the players in the Mexican League are extremely good, but they're all very good teams. It's not that they're a bunch of crappy teams, so they all kind of like
only when compared
butt
to
heads.
CONCACAF.
They're all very good.
Only in CONCACAF, man. Because when we started going to
when was the
Libertadores,
last time? When was the last time a top league went finish its league, go to the last weekend where the title is still in doubt? How often does that happen?
I don't know, man. I don't follow the other leagues.
Well, let me put it this way: it doesn't happen very often. The league is going to be settled by mid-March. At this point, Barcelona is going to win. Is going to win La Liga. They're going to clinch it mathematically by April.
I've noticed a few years in La Liga that it comes down to the wire a little bit. I mean, it makes the last maybe 10 or 8 games sort of interesting.
Yeah, but see, also we're comparing that to Europe, and it's unfair because it's some of these teams. It's a handful of teams that are like owned by oil sheiks.
Only places that
they're owned by. They're not even owned anymore. Most of these teams are owned by people outside of the country now.
Oligarchs.
Yeah, I mean it's in those few teams. Like it's like billions of dollars in them. But it's it's way different than when it used to be when it was like more leveled playing field and teams actually had players from their own city. I think you have to go back to around '99 to when Manchester had a bunch of local players, and then they were really good.
Someone on the chat brought up the reason why Liga MX teams don't do well in Libertadores is because of this short season and all that. I think that's what they said, but I think the fact is that
I don't see how you can say they haven't been doing well.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've done as good as Liga MX teams can in South America.
Yeah,
especially considering some of the jobs they've gotten.
Yeah,
they've more than been
but we failed to win at home when it counted.
Yeah,
at our home we failed to win, man.
What the hell does the Liguilla have to do with Tigres folding at home?
Well, sometimes the calendar, and
come on, man. I mean, that team was set up perfectly.
No,
they just didn't perform.
There was the one criticism where the league wouldn't let Tigres postpone their Libertadores game, but they allowed Monterrey to postpone the game so they could play a friendly. That's when they debuted at their stadium. I mean, and so we have that sometimes where the games would just like you don't have
I
to
think
sit.
I think you have a romantic sense of the game in your mind and how you like it to be, but and not to say that you're wrong. I mean, it's very good that way too. I just don't think that changing these things that you're mentioning would be some
Well,
would be some miraculous fix, because
but that's
when there was just one season, I don't think Mexico was doing anything not too much more or less than what it is now. If anything, I mean, I think some would argue that the players are maybe better now, but I mean, who knows about that? I think
no,
that just
but
depends on who you ask.
the young players is something that has affected because they don't, the teams want to make liguilla, and they'll leave a lot of the youth. They won't give them as much of a chance. That's their main purpose.
But you
That's their
just
main
finished,
worry to qualify.
but I think you're contradicting yourself. You just finished saying that in other leagues, if every game matters super important, then what the hell are you going to let some kid play then? Hell no. If every game is that much more important, like as you just said it was, there's actually less of an incentive to take a chance on a kid.
Well, because they plan for the longer format. They plan. I mean, not longer format. They plan for the
I don't
long
think it
run.
necessarily
So
fits what you
they'll,
just stated.
they'll carry like when you see the River Plate team that played Tigres in the final. A lot of those guys had been together for over 3 years, compared to a bunch of the Tigres
No,
players that they
I
had
think it's
just
more of a
bought like
byproduct.
six months.
I think these kids playing in these other teams that you're mentioning is more of a byproduct of those teams having to do that. As that's just part of their thing where they're producing players, so they have to give kids a chance to play. That's just what they do. We kind of talked about this last week, where it's like, the Mexican league brings players in, they don't develop them.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's a big reason because we'll
Like,
have
if anything,
talented players.
the need for the league to want to be global, or to be the premier league of the Americas, of bringing in at like the biggest talent. I mean, that's indicative of something that's not like the antithesis of playing kids.
I know, but look at what happens to all the talented youth from they win under 17, they do really good under 20 or even under 23. They they come back and they don't get any playing time, and that's a big reason. And even the one kid that just with Chivas, he's 21, only has like 6 games from 18 years old to 21, and they're still calling him a promesa. So, I
But
mean,
again, I don't think I'm arguing whether it's effective or not, or it's right or wrong. The objective of the league and of the teams is to make money. It's not to build as best a national team as they can. That's not the objective of the league. The teams are there to make money. To run as businesses, that's the objective. They want to win, but how they win is up to them, and for them, it's clear that the best way to do that is to bring in big names, as big names as they can, and and then with all these other things like the Liguilla, will bring in excitement, will bring in viewership. That's the formula. Um, I just don't see how anything changes. I mean, like, unless somehow magically the objective of the I don't know what's the proper the mission statement of the league changes somehow, then it is what it is. I think those are the reasons why you're seeing kids play, is because that's what those teams need to do.
well, you could see how it changes because we're getting less and less local players now that are like at the top. So if we look at like the list of goleadores, you'll
Yeah,
have
but my
like
point is, who
Toribe.
cares? My point is, who cares? I
So
don't
if you want the
dispute what you're
national team
saying.
to do good, you're gonna care because that means there's gonna be less
I know,
talent
but
to
that's
pick
my point
from.
though. But that doesn't have to do with the short season. It's got to do with these teams where their priorities are.
Exactly. And it comes to getting to playoffs. That's the priority. Let's make it to playoffs, and we make the season, and then to make playoffs, then they go after like experienced players. So the young talent get left out to dry.
Slip through the cracks.
But the young talent has always been left out to dry. I mean, that hasn't changed. It can be
I
more
wouldn't
so
say as
now.
much as before, because go back and when you would see there'll be more Mexican players as top goal scorers or competing for that. You know, you have like Elias Hermosillo, you know, a couple others, not just one or two in the top 10.
Yeah, but I think, Joel, I think this is like say take for example the U17 team. A lot of those players like Villaluz, I forget the other guys' names, Momia, for example. He was not back then, but Fierro, they got their chances to play. They just couldn't handle. I think a lot of these young players get the chance, but there's so much competition that they can't surpass it, and they don't deserve a starting.
No, not all of them. Not all of them. And it's like if you get one game and then another one like
even
2 months later.
Even in practice, like if they're evaluating, they're competing against South Americans and all these other dudes. I don't think the coaches are looking at them and seeing them up to par.
Yeah, and that came with the whole increasing of foreigners. They went from 3 to 5 to unlimited. So we kind of pretty much killed that.
Yes, I think they need to step up their skill if they're, or like John was saying, go to the MLS or find some way to get a starting role on a team and beat out the South Americans and beat out all these foreigners coming in and get their starting position. Because even Fierro hasn't panned out fully. Hubo hasn't panned out. A lot of players that are young haven't panned out, and the ones that have sort of do, like Gio and of course Vela does, and all these other players. But it's very few of these youth that come out and are able to hang.
No, but see, you can't mix them. The other guys were in Europe.
Now, where Joel is right is that in this case, quantity is more important than quality, and you can't have. I mean, in order for Mexico to be able to have this structure that they want to have, one of the things that they have to be able to have is a lot of really good Mexican players, and the only way to do that is to have a lot of really good Mexican players, and that's just with how they want to do it, that's just not going to happen. And so these players are going to be needing to go play elsewhere, whether it's Costa Rica or MLS, or if they had the stones, they'd go down to play in the Colombian league or the Chilean league, etc. But the only way that the national team is going to improve is if there's a bigger batch of Mexican players to choose from. And with the way that the things are going right now in Liga MX and elsewhere, it's just not going to happen. There has to be an outlet for these guys. And I mean, as far as like the goal scorers, as Joe was saying, I remember when I was doing I can't remember, I was writing for Big Soccer, or I was writing for one of the other things, where I went back to look at who were the top 10 goal scorers in the league for like the last whatever seasons it was, like 10, 15 seasons. And out of those seasons, I mean, it was rarely would there be more than 3 Mexican players in the top 10 goal scorers. I mean, it just never happened. And I mean, the last Mexican goal scorer who led the league in scoring was Angel Reina in 2011. It's been 7 years.
I would tend to blame the player, the Mexican player.
Wait, Chiquis, I'm just gonna don't take longer to to develop or to flourish. I don't think Oribe Peralta, if he would have debuted it now, he wouldn't have made it, man. He didn't hit it big. He was about 24. He would have been rotting away in Liga de Ascenso, man.
What are you talking about? He actually didn't start playing till his mid-20s also. So I mean, that's pretty
what
typical.
I'm saying. If he would have now, now with way more foreigners allowed, he wouldn't have had that chance. He wouldn't have
That's an
gotten the chance he
assumption.
ended up getting.
That's an assumption. I mean, you don't know that to be true. I mean, there's still players that are managing to play now. I think if you're good enough, you're going to play. If you're a player that needs minutes to get better, then maybe the Liga MX is not going to be your league.
I do find it interesting.
Even if like John made the statement of rotting in Liga de Ascenso, I think if you're in Liga de Ascenso, if you're Momia or whoever, then light up Liga de Ascenso. If you're really good, that's a lesser league. Be better than any other player, so that a first team guy will want to bring you up. A first team or a Liga MX team will want to bring you up. Jonathan Gonzalez did sort of that same thing. He's a Mexican American. He busted on.
I do find it interesting that Monterrey, the team that's been pushing for this unlimited amount of foreigners, the two Mexican players that play for them are teenagers.
They're doing something right. That's what I'm saying. Like, even though they're the ones pushing for this rule, they have no problem playing kids as long as they're good. So maybe maybe the bigger underlying issue is lack of proper coaches in the youth ranks, where these kids aren't making that next step. I don't know what the hell it is, to be honest with you.
I do think there is a little bit of hype that the Mexican owners and coaches look at South American players and they praise them. They see Argentinians. Oh, he's Argentinian. He knows how to play, and we want him and stuff like that. And I think that'll fade as these dudes come over and they're flops. And the press calls them out and the fans call them out, like Cartucho Quemado and all these other guys. And that'll sort of shift. I think that'll change.
Yeah, but the thing is, Chiquis, is that South American players are given so much more rope for them to flop with than the Mexican player is.
I know, and I think patience.
The Mexican player has 6 games, doesn't play well, and they get rid of him. The South American guys could be there for 2 and 3 and 4 years. I mean, look at Pumas. They had those Chilean guys. They were just god awful. How long did they have those guys on that team? They were hideous. And this is Pumas. This is a team that historically is.
But they're cheap though. They're cheap. I think that is true. But I think patience has got to wear thin. Eventually, they got to realize, okay, we got Nico Castillo. That's a guy that's worth it. We got who else? Some other dude. Menace, if he comes and does good, that's the guy we need. Or
You're right, but you know what? Out of like the 200 foreigners, only about 60 are really good. The rest aren't any better than what we could have at home.
And that needs to come to the spotlight. That needs to be highlighted, and people need to start recognizing that.
Yeah, there's some players that won't even play. They're just there.
But that's the thing, Chiquis, is that the foreign players are given so much more leeway when they're bad than a Mexican player. And it's just, it's the same thing with coaches. How many young Mexican coaches that had very little experience were in the start of the Apertura last year? There was your Tocayo, Chiquis Garcia. There was Jaime Lozano. There was Paco Palencia. And there was another one. I forgot what the other one's name was. And they're all gone. And they were fired. They didn't even get a chance to finish the season.
The lowest blow guy, Rafa Puente Jr.
And he'll be gone in a month if they don't win. That's just the reality.
We need Paco Palencia or somebody to write the Liga MX memo. Like the Google memo, the Liga MX memo for equal opportunity.
No,
all right,
yeah,
so we should probably wrap it up here with our customary deep dive into Chivas. Things are not going well for the Sacred Herd. In fact, over the last, I saw 30 games out of the last 30 league games, Chivas has won 7 of them.
Oh,
which is worse than even Pumas, and that's if you're beating Pumas in any race right now to the bottom, that's bad because Pumas has been awful. Well, Chivas apparently has been awfuler, and Alan Pulido has not scored a goal since the final. I know he was hurt, and I get that. And as we talked about earlier, the management leaves Matias Almeida out there to twist in the wind, and frankly, he does not deserve that. He deserves much better, and the team deserves much better. Joel, what's it going to take for Chivas to turn things around?
oh man, at this point, I think some of their top players are going to just have to start playing better. Like Urilo's one of them, but there seems to be too many problems right now. Internal, that we might not see that. It might have come crashing down. Almeida might get sacked somewhere down the season. It's obvious he doesn't get along with Higuera, so that I think that's kind of like splitting the team.
Well, that is very unfortunate if that is the case, because I do think he's a good coach. I've been a little under the weather this past week, so I was lying in bed yesterday, and I had my eyes closed. I think I was watching Univision Deportes Network, and I heard this voice. I thought it was La Volpe. I was like, man, what is La Volpe doing talking? And I looked up, and it was Almeida. I mean, they sounded in my state of delirium exactly alike. I was like, wow, it was very strange. But one of the guys on that show made a very good point. They said, give the guy some help. Give the guy somebody that knows what they're doing and let them run the business side of dealing with the players. Because the guys that they have just obviously don't know what they're doing. And again, they're letting this guy twist in the wind, and he's too good a coach to put all this on the guy.
Yeah,
and I agree.
They put him in charge of everything. They fired a bunch of people, and they just said, "Oh, Almeida will do it." It's like he's getting a crash course. And they did fire the GM that they had. They brought him just for a brief period of time. Keep forgetting his name. He was at Querétaro. But the only reason they brought him was because they were trying to land Bucetich. And Bucet didn't want to work with Vergara, so they ended up firing him. I can't remember his name. But Vergara is basically the GM, and he's new to football. To his credit, he did help put together the team that won, but he lost his allegiance with Grupo Pachuca. So a bunch of doors closed there. So yeah, I don't think the team's that bad, but I do feel that they're going to struggle the rest of the season.
But you're right, though. I mean, they're not a bad team. If Chivas was playing well, then those players would have a very good chance of making the World Cup roster. But unfortunately, there's a certain group of players right now for Chivas that have been in a slump, and I think as soon as they start playing better, then the team will start playing better. I'm thinking about Orbelín Pineda, who, for past couple of years was terrific. Hasn't really been the same since the Gold Cup.
Yeah.
Pulido
did to him, man.
Pulido had bad luck, again in a Molero friendly, hurting, of all things, his wrist, which is frankly a bone that you don't necessarily need to play soccer and play soccer well, but still, it was his elbow that hurt himself, where he hurt himself.
He's from Monterrey.
Right. And So I think as soon as those players start playing,
Do they have
start
a
playing a little better.
reputation for being soft?
I don't think so.
No, the codo.
Okay. Because my feelings on norteños are just they speak so harsh, like so hard. So like a toughness is I couldn't just assume they're kind of tough. Anyways, I'm sorry to interrupt.
So I mean, Chivas has good bones. I think it's only a matter. I mean, I think that if they can figure out a way to snap out of it before the end of February, then I think they'll be okay. But if they don't, then at that point you might as well just go ahead and start selling off some of the pieces because that's going to be the only way that you can sell.
And that's what John. All these teams bought players and got stronger. Chivas just sold players. They bought some young players, but they sold some of their more experienced players.
How are the kids looking, by the way?
One of them hasn't even played. He hasn't even been in. Cisneros was just sent to the under 20.
Eesh.
Yeah, so
Hey, I'm listening to. Oh, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
I was listening to Matias Almeida in an interview, and he sounds salty, man, because he mentions that other teams, what do you say it? Se reforzaron.
Reinforced.
Yeah, they got reinforced. They got reinforcements. Say for example, they spent like 30 million, and another team spends 1, which he's referring to Chivas. They didn't get anybody, and he's just complaining about that, man. Like that's the reason why they're. I mean, it's part of the reason why he's saying that they're in a bad spot right now, and that's pretty much blaming it on upper management, right?
Part of they've been playing hot potato for a while.
And exactly. I mean, it's. I mean, we've been talking about this for the past couple of weeks. It's so obvious that whatever it is, the lines of communication have broken down between Higuera, Vergara, and Almeida. They all have a different story with what's going on. So, and again, and it goes back to me. It always goes back to ego when it comes to stuff like this. It's like, they're in a pissing contest to see, who's quote unquote really in charge here. And to me, it's like, is it worth throwing your team's potential away just to prove that you're right or to prove some stupid point? Just to show that, hey, it turns out that yes, mine is bigger than yours. I mean, what is the point? And that's what Chivas is in right now. And ultimately, it's going to cost them the coach, and it's going to cost them, 2 or 3 really good players that they could have built. What Joel has always talked about. A 5-6 year, period of. I mean, not necessarily winning championships, but a period of playing for championships. And that's just not going to happen in the current circumstances that Chivas is in right now. So things don't look good for Chivas fans, at least in the foreseeable future, unless they can, like I said, turn things around by the end of February. If it doesn't happen by then it ain't going to happen. And as Joel mentioned earlier in the podcast, it's time for Almeida to put all his marbles in the Conca Champions.
That's a tournament the team hasn't won since 1951. But most importantly, it would put him at the Clubs World Cup.
Now, if it's been since 1951, Joel, does that mean that when they play the Conca Champions, Chivas can ask Atlas's Barra 51 to come and cheer for them?
We don't need that bad mojo. But I mean, going to the FIFA Clubs World Cup, it'll give them, the vitrina the club needs. Especially someone like Almeida, when he's
not just Almeida. Think about all those players that would get a good vitrina.
Yeah, and it's very unfortunate that the league decided to to opt out of Libertadores because Chivas had just qualified to it. And I was very excited, and they just swooped the rug from the, took it away.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, and I think ultimately that's something that Mexico's going to have to get back into. But I think that it's going to be. I think that the only way that Mexico gets back into the Libertadores or a Libertadores-like tournament is if it becomes a Pan American tournament, which I think would be personally outstanding. But the travel is going to be the really hard part.
Do you think they might do it groups?
I'm not sure how I think it will happen, but that's going to be one of those logistical things where you really have to figure out how to make that work. I don't know if it would be groups, but maybe you do like
play games in the U.S.
No, I think that you could do like a big group, and say you're going to play a home and away with teams in your confederation, but the team that isn't in your confederation, there's going to be, say, 4 of them, right? You're going to do 2 home and 2 away. So like a group of 8, where you play home and away with your teams, and then just 1 home and 1 away with the other ones. To limit the travel, that would be one way where it could work. But I do think that that's definitely on the horizon. There's going to be a call up coming up next week. Joel, I'm hearing that Juan Carlos Osorio might be paying the iron price. That's the rumor.
Do you mean? What?
Yeah.
I haven't heard those rumors, John.
I'm hearing your boy.
Sources are.
I'm hearing your boy might get the nod. He did put a serious hurt on Chivas over the weekend.
Oh.
He played well.
He had he got the penalty and then he got an assist.
An excellent assist.
Yeah, Chiquis was just bad mouthing him, but he's still playing, man.
I was so upset, man. I was watching that game and I was like, man, this thing's boring, man. Who's gonna lose, and I changed it, and then I was like, oh gee, that was a mistake.
And no, the one player I predicted to do well was Henry Martin, and he's like 2 goals now.
Yeah, he has 2 goals, and I didn't realize that Cruz Azul guy Baca is a Mexican. I had no idea. It just goes to show you how out of touch I am with Cruz Azul, because I look at their roster and it's like I have no idea who any of these guys are. But I think his name is Rafael Baca. I had no idea that. I thought he was like a Colombian or something. Because I guess it's just because I expected him to be a Colombian, or a Ecuadorian or Paraguayan or whatever it is. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that Martin will get called up. And then another player I think that I can keep an eye on, who's starting to back and hopefully will start playing well, and I think would have a really interesting possibilities of making some noise is Pablo Barrera for Pumas.
Isn't he injured, John?
No, he's back.
He recovered.
Well, yeah, he's obviously not the same player, but he'd be a player that has a great amount of experience, and he can play both right-footed or left-footed. And a player that I thought might have a chance has now gone on to MLS. Efrain Juarez is a former World Cup player who is now going to be playing for Vancouver Whitecaps. And I fully expect the Jonathan Gonzalez to be called up. I did notice also that both Carlos Vela and Jonathan Dos Santos have been training at the Centro de Alto Rendimiento and also doing a lot of beach stuff Giovanni, on the other hand, has not been seen or heard from when it comes to that.
I saw him at a Denny's ad.
Yeah,
I
saw him.
He looked really happy.
I saw.
He looked really happy.
Is he having his Grand Slam breakfast?
I'll be happy too, John.
That Vela and Jonathan Dos Santos thing looked more like a PR stunt.
They probably just show up for pictures.
Yeah,
They did an 80s style training montage.
Yeah,
they put a song for like 2 minutes, some 80s type song, and then they just did this some quick.
But at least Jonathan was...
and they're in tip-top shape.
Would that be Rocky IV song worthy, Joel?
Yeah, like Hearts on Fire.
Or Rocky III on the beach, like Jonathan on the beach.
So I would probably fully expect those three guys to be called up as well. The Dos Santos brothers and Vela will probably get the call. And I think you're right, Joel. I think that Henry Martin, the more he keeps scoring, and the more.
But John, America seems they want a striker, so that might hurt his chances if they do bring someone. They're going after some European player.
That's true, but if he keeps scoring, though, it kind of forces the hand.
Could.
And I gotta admit, he's a big dude, man. Like that side of him, sounds pretty intriguing.
He's a big dude, and he has shown that he's not just a guy that cierra la pinza, or he just is a poacher. I mean, he can score. He has all the tools to score from a nice range around the goal. So, and he had been called up before, so I mean, it's not like Osorio doesn't know who he is. And remember, he did tear his ACL, so he was coming back from that. And Piojo, to me, if Piojo has confidence in you, that to me says a lot. He brought him over from Tijuana, and playing in America is no small thing. And so far he seems to be handling it pretty well. So Joel, I'm once again your talents as a soothsayer is pretty impressive.
Thank you, sir. Don't always get them right, but
what have you said about Martin, though?
Well, Joel, when you're right 52% of the time, you're wrong.
I'm not fully up on Martin still. I need to see more time.
He hasn't convinced you yet, Chiquis?
No. Well, you said cerrar la pinza, and I think his goal was pretty much that, wasn't it? This last game.
Well, against Pachuca, yeah, the goal that he scored the week before against Querétaro. He trapped it. He trapped it and then volleyed it from outside the area into the net.
Okay, not bad.
Yeah. No, a very good goal for sure. So, and he also scored a couple of goals in their preseason too. So he's, again, any Mexican striker with a pulse that's scoring goals is going to go to Russia. I mean, that's just the reality. Because our boy Chicharito's not scoring anything. Raúl Jimenez.
Didn't he just say he's staying?
Well, he's not going to MLS. Was the update that I saw, unless there's something has changed since.
That was the tweet I saw was a Univision sort of clickbait type of thing. It was like, habría rechazado Chicharito ir a MLS. So it's like,
the whole habría.
Yeah.
The rumor that I saw that he was going to go to Beşiktaş over in Turkey that are playing in the Champions League, which I thought, that's fantastic. In the Champions League, that'd be a good spot. Until I realized that their round of 16 opponent would be, or is, Bayern Munich. So their Champions League would be over in 2 games.
I'm going to just be an amistoso.
Exactly.
Damn, that's bad luck, Chicharo, man.
Well, he's in Europe, so get the benefit of the doubt.
So how funny! Now they're saying that it's actually going to be Danny Welbeck that goes to Beşiktaş instead of Chichero. So he's being blocked again by Danny Welbeck. That would be
That's
be
the guy
interesting.
that they said was
At
going to be
Manchester
the
United.
next big thing, right?
Right, at Manchester United. He was
And then they
he was
sold him.
he was Chicharito's Boyan Kirkic.
Oh, dang. They asked Osorio, Picante, is Mexican football all about business? True or false? They don't say his answer though.
Is Mexican what all about what?
Is Mexican football all about money, all about the business?
Oh, yeah, it is.
All right, more
It
business
is, man.
than the sport.
I'll have to watch that
There's a lot
later
of
on tonight or
money
tomorrow.
in the whole player transfer. It's been that's a whole big business in the whole, and the more I've looked into it, it's just crazy, the stories. Going way back from like when you even had like Colombian cartels and even like FARC sending Colombianos, to wash money. And then even like the whole story with Mex Lube, how the whole Mex Lube came about from Pemex and Martinez Garza, and then it makes sense when, and then you could like Google that stuff and you could see how like Garza and them got ousted from Mex Lube because they were losing all this money, and so Garza was the guy that when he took control of Mex Lube, he created Promotora and he bought Chivas, and then they did the whole Super Chivas thing where they spend all this money on players. So if you see like all these other like stuff that's happened with even Jorge Lancambú when he was at Monterrey, and it's just crazy, man. It's crazy. That rabbit hole goes deep.
Mexico, didn't they own Chivas at one point?
Yeah, well, this is what happened was that Pemex, which is like it's owned by the country,
Government.
right?
Right.
Yeah, by the government. So they did something where they were gonna they like create like a subsidiary for the lubricants to be sold at the gas stations, and so it was just the whole way it went about was crooked, and the people that won the bid to sell the lubricants was Salvador Martinez Garza and also the dudes from I used to own Teco, Aleaño. They were all in it. So they won. They had a Mex Lube, and that dude Martinez Garza created Promotora, and he rented out Chivas. He pretty much got them for 10 years.
By the hour?
It all came, I don't know. I don't know, but it came tumbling down around 2001 when a lot of the stockholders were like ousting him. And they, some of the stories I read, these guys had armed guards, so they didn't want to leave the office. I don't know what they were doing, but they weren't letting people go in. And that's around 01, 02, that's around the time Vergara came in and he pretty much got the club at a bargain price. So it's just crazy, like the whole, and then before he lost the club, they were just selling all their players. Sold Ramon Ramirez to America, sold, Travieso Guzman, Misael Espinosa. They're just getting rid of everyone. So, but yeah, it's all the stories like you could hear going way back. It's just a bunch of crazy stuff that was going on. So I'm surprised that the league didn't like crumble. They managed to get rid of a lot of that stuff. Well, I don't think it's completely gone, but they kind of did.
Oof. All right. Well, gentlemen, I think this is a good as good a spot as any to go ahead and end our little podcast tonight. A very interesting, entertaining, and informative show, I thought, for all of our listeners. We had some phone participation, which I appreciate. Thanks to the folks that called in. Thanks to the folks that asked questions on the chat. And thanks to you, Joel, for joining us.
Anytime, John.
And want to thank Juan Uribe. I didn't get to introduce when he joined us. He always comes in, and he comes in guns hot. Juan does. He definitely rocks out with his. I'll finish that phrase when he joins the show. So we do appreciate Juan for coming on, and Profe. He got mad at us for calling him Profe Camberraya, so I've decided not to call him the Camberrayas anymore because I don't want to incur the wrath of Profe. But we do thank him for coming on. And Chiquis, thanks again for hopping on and setting all this up for us as always.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Tom Marshall for tweeting us out. We got a little bit of activity there.
Oh, well, thanks for
and Tom also Marshall. Ivan that came on, I think he has his very own podcast.
The Eagle podcast. Yeah, I got to check that one out.
The Eagle podcast. It's an America podcast.
Yeah.
In English, yeah.
I'd rather stick a knitting needle in my ear than have to listen to anything else. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, we appreciate any and all comments from folks and our podcast brethren that join us. I'll hopefully be seeing Tom in a couple weeks. He made he couldn't have made I don't want to say a bad decision because I don't want to upset the good people of San Antonio. But the barbecue choice that he made when he was in San Antonio last time was it was like when what's the meme where Kirk does the face palm and Worf does the face palm right behind him. I mean it was bad. So I'm going to try and convince Tom to go for a little drive, a little trek, just outside of San Antonio. Actually, right by where you live, he's in Luling, City Market, the best barbecue in Texas, I think.
Oh, you gonna try to take him there?
Yeah, absolutely. Drive. It's only an hour from San Antonio. It's not that bad. It's
yeah.
So yeah, hopefully.
I'm gonna be in town also. So.
Oh, are you gonna go? I didn't think you were gonna be able to make it.
I was gonna be on a trip, but that got changed. So.
Well, there you go. Well, there you have it. So we'll be doing that. We'll want to thank Daniel Preciado. Daniel, thank you very much for joining us.
Fun as always.
May your guerreros play with a clear mind and a full heart this weekend.
Let's hope. Those butterflies don't stand a chance.
Those pesky little butterflies.
Those pesky little butterflies. Yes.
I guess before I let you go, Dan, Pumas America. What you got?
I'm gonna ride the hot hand, man. I'm going with Pumas.
If I had my little soundboard, I would play the Pumas, my Pumas.
Goya?
Yeah, but I don't have it with me, Elmira. So we're technologically strapped. So you go with Pumas. Chiquis, Pumas for America. What you got?
Yeah, I want to say Pumas because Castillo seems like he's really dedicated to getting this win.
As good as Castillo is, I think that the best signing that they made this season was Alistusa. I think Alistusa is going to be the new Matias Britos, who they should have never gotten rid of. But
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I mean he has done. He in the two games that he's played, he's made a difference as well. So hopefully, I'm going to say Pumas as well. Joel, are you gonna make it a poker? Is it going to be 4 for 4?
Yes, the Goya chant will be heard loud and clear, John.
Oh, let's hope so. Because I've always said that a 3-game winning streak is like a it's like a shot of it's like an antidote to a bad season. So hopefully that'll be the case. I too, well, I'm hoping that Pumas will win. Now it's going to be a great Sunday because you have the Pumas game with America, and then that leads right into the AFC Championship, and then right into the NFC Championship. And if you get bored with that, you can watch the Butterflies against Santos at
when you put it like that.
Another good game.
When you put it like that.
Yeah, you can watch the second game as long as it remains interesting, and then you switch.
You know what? Not all of us like football. Not all of us.
I understand. And I appreciate that, but there are some that that just like the spectacle of the biggest Sunday and I think that this Sunday is bigger than NFL Sunday because there's two games of NFL of Championship Sunday, as it were. So I do remember years ago when Fox had the Super Bowl. Their lead-in to their Super Bowl was Chelsea Manchester United, and Chicharito scored a massive equalizer. To tie it 3-3. Like, it was one of those things where he put a triple move on John Terry. John Terry was so mad. It was so funny that Chicharito was able to get open and he scored the goal. And it was just great for Chicharito to get that exposure back then. That was when I think in 2011 or 2012, Sir Alex was still coaching the team. So good on Chicharito for that, and hopefully he will get out of his exile. Well, I guess it wouldn't be an exile. It's kind of like he's like in a. Well, I wouldn't know. Well, what term would we use for Chicharito's situation right now?
Oof. He's in limbo right now, man.
Yeah, limbo. He's frozen.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what he is? He's in carbonite. That's what Chicharito is, right? He's in carbonite. He needs his Chewy to come unfreeze him. That's what Chicharito needs. Anyway, my name is John Jagu. I really appreciate y'all joining us. We'll do it again next week, same time. Well, hopefully around the same time, 9:30 Central, 7:30 Pacific, and 10:30 on the East Coast. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Again, listen to this podcast and our previous editions on the Podcast Center. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at CantinaMX Podcast. Like us on Facebook, please. We post a lot of stuff on Facebook during the week and on the weekend. And, of course, you can follow us on Twitter at CantinaMX _pod. We'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks very much.